we have a little bit of internet beef involving DC Young Fly and Rick Ross. There's a bit of a back and forth in terms of cataloging what took place during Rick Ross's appearance on DC Young Fly's podcast 85 South. So, Rick Ross, well, DC Young Fly called out Rick Ross recently for abruptly leaving during a taping of one of their episodes. Rick Ross claims that he had to leave to do something else. He had a prior obligation. And DC Young Fly is saying, the way that Ross left was not cool. And so, Ross has since come out to try and explain what happened. And then DC Young Fly responded. So at this point, these two guys are kind of just trolling one another, going back and forth. So let's see here. So this says Rick Ross and DC Young Fly trade blows over podcast walkout. Rick Ross is no stranger to media crossovers, such as the recent announcement of his could have been house participation alongside Drewski. But one particular incident from back in 2021 is popping out to haunt him, and DC Young Fly is not shy about letting him know that. For those unaware, DC hosts the 85 South show with Chico Bean and Carlos Miller. The cohort recently appeared on Rory and Mal's podcast to talk about an interview they did with Ross back in 2021. At one point of that conversation, Rose said he had to use the bathroom and abruptly left the set, with his team explaining that he had to catch a flight. For the record, he told the Breakfast Club that he didn't do this spitefully. Nevertheless, DC told Rory and Mal that there are some hard feelings about the For the Money rapper's exit. That's because the other podcast he left them for asked him tough questions, whereas 85 South would have avoided damaging inquiries. According to Complex, Rick Ross responded to DC Young Fly via various Instagram story posts. So I'm not going to read those quotes. So here is an exchange between Rick Ross and DC Young Fly as they try to explain their side of the story.
Look, bro, listen, man. I came to your podcast. I came for free, homie, no charge. I did it on Face, homie. I didn't ask you what your analytics was and this and that. I came on Face, homie, to show love. And don't make it like I walked off on you. I left early. Rose had some other things to do too. But guess what? I came for free, nigga. I wasted that nice ass Gucci jacket on that look, man. I couldn't even really wear my Gucci jacket again. But my nigga, I did it for love. And next time I come for free, at least have me some lemon pepper wing stop at that bitch. You heard me? But I came for free. I ain't charge you. Hear me? Don't talk about Rose other business. I came and did that. And what is the analytics? How the show doing anyway, man? I come back on it, and when I'm gonna walk off that bitch the next time, and it's.
And here's DC Young Fly's response.
Ross, big homie. First of all, you know it love. Second of all, I got to call a spade when it's a spade. You say you did it for free. Everybody do it for free, Ross. You ain't the only nigga. Boosie did it for free. T.I. do it for free. Nigga Busta Rhymes did it for free. Nigga Snoop Dogg did it for free. Everybody who sat on that couch do it for free. Now, that wasn't the biggest moment. Now, that's one of the viral moments, but Boosie episode 8 million. Got Country Wayne shit like 6-7 million. Like, we do numbers, we do analytics. Our analytics, we was the biggest before you came, and we was the biggest afterwards. So you always got room to come back to be on the biggest podcast in the world, correct? You dig what I'm saying? But when you call a spade, it get hot. And where you gotta go to cool off, I'm going to talk.
This guy.
All right, so there are their respective pieces being spoken. Where do you land on this one? What's your take on this situation?
Well, I mean, of course, Ross is going to be Ross. At this point, he is definitely, and I guess this is why he can go toe to toe with 50 Cent, because he's a troll as a person. I don't think Rick Ross is a real human anymore. I think he is really the personification he created in his brain, and he's just a walking projection of this character. So, and part of him doing being his character is him saying that excuse me, use the restroom real quick and never return on the podcast, and then just move about life as if that was just regular business. And then to hear his logic behind it was like, well, I did it for free, so there wasn't no check behind it. Y'all ain't had to pay me nothing, and I wasn't getting paid, so I had to leave to go to something I was going to get actually paid for. And to him that makes sense in his mind, and honestly, his mind alone. I'm sure there's going to be people that agree with that, but you know what I'm saying. The this is the thought pattern of a career narcissist, man. So he's definitely a rapper. He is definitely the stereotypical sense of it if he was conducting himself that way. But I can't say that I'm too surprised. Once I saw that clip, I was like, damn, Ross. And then on top of that, on some I'll be right back stuff, but never return. What kind of time are you on as a human? So, but last thing I'll say is that when DC Young Fly was on the show with Maul and them, and he was basically saying that, his issue is that you went to, a podcast from a different community, and you sat there for 2 hours talking the whole time. And he said that, they were also asking you these questions, basically asking if you were a CEO, if you're a correctional officer. And so DC was like, hey, man, like, we weren't going to disrespect you with nothing like that. It was going to be all love and things of that nature. But you can go to another community's platform, do the whole thing, and then also get interrogated while you're there. So, I guess DC, I hear his point there. I'm sure they paid him, but what's a dollar worth? If you can show love to your community, or is it only where the checks are? So again, that's kind of speaks to the type of character Rick Ross is as a person, man. I really can't believe he did this, and I can believe his rationale.
You said you really can't or can?
I can. I can believe him doing this.
Okay.
And I can believe his rationale. This is in line with a character of a person, not a real person that goes, hey man, I'm trying to show love in the community, or show love to, these other dudes over here or whatever. And so, they kept it player, all of them, they weren't really having a beef per se. It was just more of a situation. DC had his take on it, but even then he said there's still room for you to come back. So, he ain't high key beefing with them, but I can feel his frustrations with that. But what are your thoughts, man, on Rick Ross? All right, Rose, just getting up and walking out of the podcast, and then on top of it, saying he'll do it again if they don't bring no lemon pepper. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Rick Ross is a capitalist. He only lives for making money. Mm-hmm. So in his mind, the rationalization for him getting up and leaving was, I'm doing this for free. So he probably had convinced himself that they should be thankful for the time I'm willing to give them, since I'm not being paid.
Correct.
And when it comes to, leaving to go to a different platform that's, run by people outside of the community, I don't think people in Ross's position care. They just care about making money. So it doesn't matter. I feel like Ross will sign a deal with anybody if the check is big enough. if the check is big enough, Ross will sign on a dotted line, because he's just all about making the money. And then if anybody criticizes him about it, he can just get on a song and talk about how much money he made off the deal. Mm-hmm. And especially in today's hip hop, substance or character don't really matter in terms of being accepted on a popular mainstream level. It's just all about what kind of bag you're getting to. So if he's experiencing too much smoke over this hypothetical that I've laid out, he could just always get on a song and talk about the millions he made off the deal. And then, the criticism will largely just kind of quiet down, because people will be like, oh yeah, well, Ross got that bag, or he got to the money, or he blah, 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 blah. because in this particular context, this is when our penchant for worshiping money as God comes into play. So I think at the very least he could have been a bit more respectful,
Yeah.
maybe let them know, listen, instead of getting up and going to the bathroom and then you just don't come back. Like he could have at the very least have been like, hey, listen, you know, there's some I have a prior engagement.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
man.
cut our time short. My bad on that, but I'll try to make it up in the future. Let's get something set up. He could have done something like that. But to just say you're going to the bathroom and then you just never come back, that's a slime move. But that's the move that a person such as Ross makes, where it's like, well, y'all wasn't paying me anywhere, so why should I care? So that's why I had to kind of ask you again, because I thought you said you can't see him doing that, but you
No.
said you could, because I definitely can too. So I mean, this is just all about cash, money, green, the bag. This is just all about the check. And in this particular industry, talking about hip hop, whoever's getting to the bigger check is oftentimes perceived to be the bigger winner. Now, is that true in actuality? Of course not. But in terms of how this is going to play out perception wise in the perpetuity, if whatever Ross ended up doing gets him to more money than whatever they doing on that podcast 85 South, then Ross will be perceived to have come out on the upper hand, and that's pretty much all that matters. And of course, I say that sarcastically, because I don't believe that that's all that matters. But in reality, it is all that matters. So if he's getting to the bag, no one's got anything to say about it.
Yeah, and that was my point too, as far as him. I mean, he didn't have to just walk out. He could have cut it short and, like you said, gave some type of rationale, any kind of rationale. But come on, man. You done been around people that do stuff like that, where they'll just do something like just uncalled for, and then they'll give you some ridiculous, like, it's just a ridiculous rationale of why they're doing it, or somebody that's you're on the phone with somebody, you're talking to them, and then the phone just cut off. You know what I'm saying? They just, it's like the call drop, and then you call them back, and the phone's like off. It's like, damn, man, like, why do you? Then eventually over time, after you call, it's like, you know what? This person just ended the conversation without ending the conversation. Why did they just say that they wanted to, end the conversation? Or, stuff like that. People do stuff like that. People live like that. And my thing is, when people are doing stuff like that and they're living like that, there's other stuff that's just no good about them. And so for Ross to just do that, that's why I said any level of humanity that I thought this man had, after this, it's like, you know what, bro? You're just over there, bro. You're just something else. And of course, he'll do anything for a check. I mean, hell, he was hanging out with the diddler.
What do you think? What do you think it's like? What do you think it's like to be? And I'm genuinely asking you this. What do you think that? Because this may sound like a silly question, but what do you think it's like to be Rick Ross's friend? Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine that? It's like Drake, for example. Like, what do you think it's like to be Drake's friend?
I would be, because I'm not a solid person myself. You see, so being around somebody that's fake like that too, I understand it. It just sucks when they just do me dirty. But I get it, because I ain't no good either. And I do other people dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's one of those thieves things. It's just they're all just hanging out with each other, and it's like, hey man, you robbed me. And it's like, well, I am a friend with a thief. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's one of those numbers, because he did gunplay wrong. He did other people wrong, and in different situations. And gunplay he'll still be around or whatever, but it's still one of those things where gunplay ain't no good. His name's Gunplay. You know, so so his friends, if they are friends of his, they're just a circle of thieves. And for Drake's, man, they're just a circle of cucks. So and either and either way, man, they're all amongst people that they are, birds of a feather kind of thing.
Yeah.
So but yeah, man. I'm with DC on this. The rest of the team, they stayed silent. He actually vocalized his disappointment and how Ross carried himself. But DC as a group, he's the youngest one. So he's the one that, the older ones understand that there's politics in this. And yeah, he did that and he walked off, but we got to stay politically neutral here. We're not going to have a stance on how he treated us at that point. That's how the older ones were, Chico and all the other ones. But DC was, just a young guy, man. He's just like, hey, man, but that ain't right, though. And it wasn't. So don't sell people something and then do something like this later. I need to have this kind of gall at work functions.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, hey, y'all, I'm about to go use the bathroom real quick. It just never. Hey, you guys seen Dogon? Like he's out of here, bro. You should say he was using the bathroom. Yeah, right. I'd be fired, bro. So.
Exactly. We just got finished talking about with Starbucks.
Hey, man. So yeah, man. Shout out to Ross though, man. He always gives me a good laugh, and shout out to DC, man. He's an interesting young guy, but he also makes me chuckle. So shout out to these guys.
Yeah, I just think it was a money play. Ross. I think I don't know him, but just based on my observation, I think that I don't know that he does anything for the good of it per se. I think he does. I think he does what he does because he is strictly money. He is strictly financially motivated, which he's in the right industry for it for sure. So can't take that much away from him. He's sort of built to thrive in the industry that he's trying to be successful in. But yeah, I think he's financially motivated. So I don't think that basic decency occurs to individuals like that. It's just kind of the way it is. So
that's like asking Starbucks to give you water.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Company policy.